student. Welcome to Visual Learning Environment. Biology for SS1. Topic: Ecosystem. Summary of our previous lesson. An ecosystem is a self-sustaining unit made up of living and non-living things interacting and affecting one another. The living things make up the biotic components of the ecosystem, while the non-living things make up the abiotic component of the ecosystem. Autotrophs are organisms that can manufacture food, making use of inorganic materials available in their immediate environment in the presence of either sunlight energy or energy derived from a chemical reaction. Two types of autotrophs exist. Photoautotrophs, those ones that utilizes sunlight energy to manufacture food. Chemoautotrophs, those ones that utilizes chemical energy to manufacture food. Heterotrophs are those organisms that cannot manufacture food on their own, but depend on autotrophs directly or indirectly for their food source. All heterotrophs are referred to as consumers and can be subdivided into three categories. 1. Herbivore, those organisms that feed only on plant parts, example, goat. 2. Omnivore, those organisms that feed on both plant parts and flesh, example, humans. 3. Decomposers, those organisms that are responsible for breaking down organic food materials into their simplest form. Today's topic is called food chain and food web, and we move on by defining the term food chain. Food chain is a linear feeding relationship between living organisms. Two types of food chain exist. The normal food chain that starts with a producer, and the second food chain that starts with a dead decaying matter, also referred to as a detrital food chain. The normal food chain involves organisms throughout, while the detrital food chain starts with a detritus, that is a dead decaying matter, that is acted upon by microorganisms, after which the detritus is fed on by worms, and the worm is now fed up by mice. Food chain is a linear feeding relationship involving the transfer of energy through food from producer to consumer. Importance of a food chain. It shows how energy is transferred from one living organism to another via food. A food chain starts with the primary energy source, the sun. The next link in the food chain is an organism that makes its own food from the primary energy source, the sun. Example: photosynthetic plants make their own food from sunlight through a process called photosynthesis. The second member of the food chain is called the primary consumer. The primary consumer eats the grass. The next point of the food chain is the secondary consumer that eats the primary consumer. That is, the frog eats the grasshopper. The next link in the chain is the tertiary consumer, also known as a tap carnivore, that eats the secondary consumer. Example: snake eats frog. Food chain is a linear feeding relationship involving the transfer of energy through food from producer to consumer. It is made up of not more than 5 members. Food chain is important because it shows how energy is transferred from one living organism to another via food. A food chain starts with the primary energy source, the sun. The next link in the food chain is an organism that makes its own food from the primary energy source, the sun. Example: the grass A photosynthetic plant makes its food from sunlight energy. The next link of the food chain is the herbivore or primary consumer, the grasshopper that eats the autotroph, grass. The next link in the chain is the secondary consumer, a carnivore, frog, that eats the herbivore, grasshopper. The next link in the chain is the tertiary consumer, also known as a top carnivore, that eats the secondary consumer. Example, the snake that eats the frog. The arrow in a food chain means eaten by, and it shows the flow of energy from the sun to a top carnivore. As the energy flows from organism to organism, energy is lost at each step. Because, according to the law of thermodynamics, the transfer of energy along a food chain is not 100% efficient, because some of the energy will be given off as heat energy. When any organism dies, it is eventually eaten by a detritivore like vulture, worm, and crabs, and will be broken down by decomposers, mostly bacteria and fungi. The trophic level of an organism is the position it holds in a food chain. It is also called a feeding or energy level. The trophic level of an organism is the position it holds in a food chain. It is also called a feeding or energy level. The food chain illustrated possesses 4 trophic levels. The producer represents trophic level 1. The primary consumer represents trophic level 2. The secondary consumer represents trophic level 3. And the tertiary consumer represents trophic level 4. Foodweb. The word foodweb is a network of food chain. It is made up of